Last time we saw the Dallas Cowboys, they were beating their division rival on Thursday Night Football, and then now they will be on Sunday Night Football taking on Justin Fields and the Pittsburgh Steelers, who just suffered their first loss of the season. My name is Tyler, here with my brother Ryan, and we're going to break down the Cowboys-Steelers Sunday Night Football matchup here in Week 5. We're going to provide also the matchup within the game that you need to look out for, and then also at the very end of the video, provide our predictions on why we think that team is going to win. But before we get into that, we have a goal of getting to 100 new subscribers for these Week 5 prediction video series. We've been able to meet that goal the past couple of weeks, so thank you to everybody that has joined the Tracy Take and has been following our videos. If this is your first time here and you have not already, go ahead and subscribe to the Tracy Take. Leave a like and a comment. Let us know who you think is going to win this game and why. And so, Ryan, the Dallas Cowboys beat the New York Giants to go 2-2. I will say they did suffer a couple of losses within the game that we'll need to monitor as well. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they ended up barely losing to the Indianapolis Colts. Kind of a shocking game. I felt like, too, that was a game that they should have won, but maybe it was a kind of lackluster overall performance as well. They almost came back and beat the Colts. But either way, though, they're 3-1 coming into this game, while the Dallas Cowboys are 2-2. It is the end of the regular season preseason. I will say, as we like to joke about the month of September here. What is kind of your overall report cards for both the Cowboys and the Steelers here at the end of September?
Yeah, I mean, starting off with the Pittsburgh Steelers, outperformed my expectations for them. Justin Fields has, I think, done a good job being more of a game manager than I think he was in Chicago for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I think this offense has been effective at times, especially when they're running the ball. Whether it's Justin Fields scrambling or Najee Harris, Jaylen Warren getting behind this newly revamped offensive line, I think they're doing a pretty good job with that. And George Pickens is having a good season. Calvin Austin has kind of come on fairly strong this season as well as a complementary piece. So they have some good things going offensively. Defensively, been a really good year for them. Obviously not quite the defensive performance you would want early on in that Colts game, giving up 17 points pretty early. But with that being said, I thought they bounced back and fought back well. It just was a little too late for them. And so 3-1 through the first 4 weeks, I think that's a good start. And going forward, they're going to have probably a few more. They have a few division matchups, but right now they have the Dallas Cowboys, and kind of getting into them, very up and down. Week 1, I thought they were going to be way better, much improved. They absolutely destroyed the Browns offensively, defensively. They were just all over the place, and that was not quite the case through the rest of the 3 weeks. They looked okay against the Giants. I think the best thing I can say is they looked efficient offensively. Dak Prescott was 22 of 27 for 221 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he only took 1 sack. But with that being said, 23 carries for 80 yards. This offensive line is not really getting a lot of push in the run game, but they also don't let Rico Dowdle and Ezekiel Elliott, not a great running back duo. So a little give and take there. But I will say pass protection-wise, Tyler Guyton, especially against Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns, was kind of getting turned around. They had, I think, a couple injuries on the offensive line as well. Hopefully, I think most guys kind of came back to the game in the Giants matchup. But defensively, that was not quite the case. Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence both left with injuries and are expected to miss at least this game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And DeMarcus Lawrence, I think, has a 4 to 8 week outlook, where Micah Parsons is week to week, but expected to miss some time.
Yeah, I think Micah Parsons is going to be the one that potentially could play, but definitely not betting on it. DeMarcus Lawrence is one that definitely looks like he's going to miss some more time, which is going to be huge for this team, because kind of on my thoughts on the Cowboys overall is obviously the Dak to CeeDee Lamb is probably one of the best connections in the league. Never thought I'd say this. Maybe Sam Darnold and Justin Jefferson might be up there also. But it's still, in general, one of the best in the league. And outside of that, that's where it kind of really stops for me. I know, like, you're looking at Jake Ferguson is a solid tight end. You still have Brandon Cooks. You still have a solid receiver. You have some other pieces that are good. But it really, the entire offense seems to flow through CeeDee Lamb. And if someone's able to shut that down, or if they're able to provide good protection, then it seems like this offense can get pretty anemic pretty quickly. I really didn't think that they played that well Thursday night. CD Lamb had the 55-yard touchdown, thanks to kind of a poor defense played by Deontay Banks, followed up then by horrible angle by the safety as well. Other than that, I think the Cowboys, and to be fair to them, Giants do have a pretty solid defense. But then on the flip side, then too, going to your points earlier, then if Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence are both out going into this game, it's going to be interesting to see how the Cowboys are able to kind of stay in some of these games without giving up so many points.
The Steelers, also, defensively, they were good in the red zone, but they still gave up a good bit of yards and allowed 5 field goals.
That's true. Well, hey, so it's
a better offense would convert more and actually score.
Yeah, and that's fair. And so on the flip side too, the Steelers, they had a couple errors today, several fumbles as well. But in general, though, they just seem like a typical Mike Tomlin Steelers team. Solid defense overall. Today wasn't their best performance, allowing Anthony Richardson and Joe Flacco to put up 27 points. They gave up over 130 rushing yards, which normally hasn't been their MO as well, but they're still a top 5 rushing defense. So I think they even had opportunities as well, but George Pickens' fumble inside the 10-yard line, I think, would have been a scoring play. Would obviously had a major impact on the game if he didn't fumble it. So I just think it was one of those NFL games where I think the better team just didn't have their best day and lost. And props to the Colts, though. It seems like they're starting to figure some stuff out. I think before we get into this game, and we start to transition, if you do want to put a couple bucks down on this Sunday Night Football matchup, check the link down below in the description box. BetUS has a bunch of great promotions going on right now for first-time players. And I think, too, kind of looking at this game, we'll have to see what the odds are coming in. But at home, primetime game, especially Steelers as well, they have a better record. I think they're probably going to be at least 3-point favorites. And as well, too, and this kind of alludes to the matchup to me that we need to watch. But I'm very curious how the Steelers line up against CD Lamb, with Joey Porter Jr., Micah Fitzpatrick as well. Because if they're able to shut him down or at least limit some of his capabilities, make the Cowboys beat them in other ways, and really other ways to throw the ball. Because there's no way the Cowboys are going to run on this team with Rico Dowdle or Ezekiel Elliott. Yeah. There was one point, I think it was pretty sure, I have to go back, maybe it was late second quarter or early third quarter, but there was a point where CeeDee Lamb was the leading rusher with 10 rushing yards. And then Rico Dowdle, of course, commentator Jinx, had like 2 back-to-back, like 7-8-yard rushes. But in general, though, the team's not really able to run the ball super effectively, averaging worst overall in the league at 75.25 rushing yards per game. They did end up having their second most in the season of 80 rushing yards against the New York Giants defense. And Giants do have a solid defense. Steelers have a much better defense overall. It's going to be at home. And how does the Cowboys stop T.J. Watt and this Steelers pass rush? I think that's another major matchup to watch. Those are the 2 matchups to watch to me, because I think the Steelers just need to be consistent on the offensive side of the ball, and they're going to get points. Justin Fields has been playing well. He's got a good connection going on with George Pickens right now. Justin Fields just does need to do more. Need to stay within himself. He had the ball hit the ground twice today. He gave up 1 fumble today. George Pickens had the fumble, obviously, I mentioned earlier. They just need to play within themselves.
I do want to give Justin Fields a little bit of a shout out. So through the first 3 games, he'd mostly been running. They've been a little limited, I think, in like the passing plays that they were giving him. However, today he was 22 of 34 for 312 yards and a touchdown. He didn't have any interceptions. And I'm not sure turnover-worthy plays or anything like that. But like that is a pretty good passing performance. And not that this Colts defense is anything to write home about, but I just think that's something that needs to be called out, was that they were more willing to pass it. And granted, they were behind.
He's making Arthur Smith look like a good offensive play caller.
Wow. Okay. Let's not go too far. But like, I think if you look at it, the fumble by George Pickens inside the Colts 10 was a big like mess up there, took points off the board. And so like Justin Fields is not what's holding this offense back. I am just curious to see kind of as the season progresses, what does he look like?
And I think that's a fair point as well, especially too, if we look at the future, and it seems like Justin Fields I don't see why he wouldn't be the guy and continue to be the guy. He's had good performances, but my favorite part of this channel is the offseason and the speculation. Who do we think these teams are going to draft? Imagine this team getting, like, when you have George Pickens on one side, imagine this team getting like a Ted McMillan out of Arizona, that big deep threat.
I would like actually a Luther Burden. Go get a Luther Burden.
Something like that. Well, Luther Burden, I think, is going to be, I think he's top 5. Dude,
maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, so, but imagine if they had another really good receiver on the opposite side of him. No offense to Calvin Austin. Definitely no offense to Van Jefferson. And so I take that back. Van Jefferson, unfair to him because he was in our Arthur Smith offense. I will say, Steelers fans, you guys got to like Arthur Smith a lot more than Matt Canada. Let's be completely honest.
Yeah.
He's doing a hell of a lot better job for y'all. So, but no, I agree with you completely. Justin Fields has played solid, and I think getting him out of Chicago has been a huge benefit. Also, getting him under a much better head coach as well.
A structured system. And I could go on for about this, but to me, Pittsburgh and like Kansas City are one of the last 2 teams that operate as like a system. Like, it is a system when you go in that door and out that door. There's not an offensive program like I feel like a lot of like offensive program, defensive program, and there's a difference of like you're ingrained in this mentality over and over in this like Pittsburgh culture, where I feel like other teams aren't quite the same.
What do you mean? Oh, like there's a way we play football.
Yeah, like there's a way you play football. There's a way you act on the field. There's a way you act off the field. Like it's not just, all right, I'm going to show up from 9 to 5 and like learn football, and then the other times it'll be off. And I know I part of it is a historical thing with like a franchise like the Steelers.
Well, it's so 2 things with that. So I kind of agree with you, but also in some defense to many of the other franchises. I think you can include the Ravens in there as well, but the one thing that all 3 of those franchises, since I'm lumping the Ravens in there now, have in common is they've had the same head coach now for 15, 16 years. And for the Steelers specifically, they're on their 3rd head coach in 50 years now. I think was their it's very easy to be like, no, there's a way that we play football. And honestly, their football has won them 6 Super Bowls. I think their last one was the Kurt Warner Arizona Cardinals toe tap one. But they've had solid teams that made the playoffs every year. They've given themselves opportunities. So it's really actually quite envious when you think about it as a Falcons fan who's we've only been to 2 Super Bowls, and one of which I definitely want to forget about. So
sorry. Actually, not sorry, but
yeah, I know. Yeah, as a Patriots fan.
Yeah. But let's get into predictions. We've gotten way off topic here. I'm going to go with the Steelers here. I think they're the better team. I like what they're doing defensively. I think this offense, that you can see them kind of growing every week. And so I think push come to shove, this Steelers defense or this Steelers offense is going to get ahead, and then the Steelers defense is going to tee off on Dak Prescott and this offense.
Yeah, sorry, I thought I made it obvious, but I guess I never said it really. But Pittsburgh Steelers, coming into the season, I'm kind of shocked I'm saying this, especially when it comes to this matchup. But I think they have more weapons overall and more options. Pat Freiermuth even had a touchdown today. Najee Harris, Jaylen Warren, it's still a good running back combination. Actually, let me even look here. Where are the Steelers ranked? I'm pretty sure my numbers are correct on my Excel sheet because I just copy and paste everything that they should all have. But they're 11th right now in total rushing yards on the season. Some of that is also Justin Fields, but that's the whole point of having that dual threat capability. They've been running the ball really well. Justin Fields has been taking care of the football overall very well. Actually, I don't know if he has a pick on the season yet. I have to go back and double check. But either way, though, I think they've been playing well. The Cowboys, to me, I think they're kind of a one-trick pony, and his name's CeeDee Lamb. It's actually, that would be a pretty good Kentucky Derby horse winner name, if you don't mind me throwing that out there. But yeah, I'm going with Steelers also on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah. So let's go ahead. We'll wrap this one up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on who you think is going to come out ahead in this matchup. Will it be the Pittsburgh Steelers? Will it be the Dallas Cowboys? And that we'll see you guys next.